Well, we're getting ready for another Monday Night Raw. It was abysmal last week. Will it be abysmal this week? I don't know. Who can tell on these things? But probably. You know, it almost feels like 3,000 weeks have passed since the last Raw. It feels like forever ago that Raw was on, which I don't know. I feel like that's probably a bad thing. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, I don't know. But this has been a just awful last few weeks here. And was it last week that Kevin Owens was saving Braun Strowman from the Shield or whatever? Because I just really... There's a lot of things from Raw for last week that pissed me off. And you guys remember, if you watched the Raw review, there was a number of things wrong with Raw last week. Like, they were just glaringly wrong. Like, I don't know if we could have another Raw that's that bad or that wrong again. I don't know if it's possible. Because they had set so many things up. It kind of reminded me of The Last Jedi. You know, where it was like Rian Johnson was like, you know what? You thought Rey's parents were this, and you thought this was going to happen, and I just threw out all the stuff that J.J. Abrams wanted to set up and threw it out the window. You know, it was kind of like that. I was like, oh, yeah, you know, like last few weeks, months that Braun Strowman has been attempting to kill Kevin Owens. Yeah, now Kevin Owens is going to come out and help him. Oh, Kevin Owens quit last week? Well, now he's going to show up and go after Bobby Lashley so he could stick up for Sami Zayn again for the millionth time. I want to kill myself. There was several other things. I think Dana Brooke, like, she broke up, I guess, with the Titus brand. Nobody cared. Nobody cares. And quite frankly, I don't remember anything else. There was a bunch of other stuff. I think okay, that's right. The Shield showed up in a police car that they stole somehow. And even though they were released on their own recognizance or whatever the hell, but then they showed up in a police car like they stole it. Like, there was no cop driving, it looked like. It's just... Oh, my God. And then we had SmackDown where they teased like they were going to do something. Just last week was abysmal. I could hear the depression in people's voices. You know, last week was a different week for me, because I'm so busy normally that I don't check out a lot of my fellow YouTubers or wrestling podcasts. I don't always get to check everybody out, but I do listen to a lot here or there. More to see, like, how different are other people feeling about these things than me. And so sometimes I listen to the other people just to see, I wonder what they're going to say about this, because I think it's ridiculous, so they must too. And there's a couple of guys that I'm always surprised don't notice or aren't upset by it. And then there's always a giggle I get when some people, you know, really agree with me and they're laughing, and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This isn't just me being bitter. Like, there are some very well-known, well-respected people saying the same thing, so I feel like I'm in good company. But a lot of times I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts or shows or people until I complete mine, because I don't want to be influenced by what other people might say. So, like, that's not usually what my deal is about. I usually enjoy just putting out my own opinion right there. However, I will say that after listening to several different people and several different reactions and reading several different publications from different groups, you know, different sports coverage websites, I don't believe almost anybody was saying that Raw was good. I think everybody was bewildered and perplexed. Now, I think this has really been going on for 2 years now, or especially 2 years, if not more, 3 or 4 years. But that episode last night, if you couldn't see that was one of the worst written TV shows that I'd ever seen. It was one of the worst written TV shows. You know what WWE feels like right now a lot? You know when a show gets really stale, but they're still on the air? They're in like season 17, and you turn it on, and you don't even believe it anymore. You don't really believe even the characters anymore. And there's like this empty feeling, like you're watching the characters you know, but they're hollow. But if you go back and watch the first 7 seasons, you're like, this is when the show was really here. This was the real show, you know? I mean, that's what I feel about this show. Like, just horrific decisions. You know, it's like I can't give a good example of it really, but it's like, you know, The Simpsons or something. If like randomly in an episode Homer cheated on Marge, and then like he had to go move away for a while, and a couple episodes took place where Homer didn't live with the family. Then eventually Marge welcomed him back. You know, like, to me that would be, and maybe they did do that. I don't know. I'm just making this up. But to me, like, that's way too shocking for me. Like, I feel like the character that would not happen to that. That character would not do that. You know, and they really hurt the character. Like, they made things too real for me. You know, too weird and too real. So now The Simpsons feels like weird, right? Stuff like that. I know The Simpsons didn't do that, but it's just. But I don't know. Forget all that. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just know that last week was abysmal, dude. It made no sense whatsoever. You can't. Why in the world wouldn't you be backstage and say, you know, we're going to keep Kevin Owens in the back, though. You know, don't have him go out there, because why would he want to help Braun? You know, after all this stuff, you know, it's a little too soon, obviously. So let's leave Kevin back here. And if they'd left Kevin back there, then nobody would be talking about that. We might be talking about the dumb, repetitive, you know, scene of the Shield showing up with an ambulance or whatever the hell. Or no, it was a police car. It just looked like an ambulance, police van, like a paddy wagon. You know, it was bad already, but it was just extra bad to see that Kevin Owens was there. Extra stupid. And I don't know how these things happen in a company like this. And I honestly believe that they just think, man, these people are idiots. So, and I think maybe, I'm trying to think back to other times as this happened. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think back. And is it that they have become stupid, or that we have become smart, too smart? But here's the thing. If the fans have become smarter, why not treat them smarter? Right? Like, I'm trying to think of a going back in time to, like, when, you know, like, this stuff happened back in the day. Like, I mean, it kind of happened at, like, I remember WrestleMania 10, and I remember there was a callback to it on the announcing. But for those who don't remember, at WrestleMania 9, the narcissist Lex Luger was a bad guy. And Mr. Perfect was, at the time, a good guy. They were trying to turn him face. And Lex Luger was said to have a plate in his elbow or whatever that he could knock people out with. So during the match, he removes his elbow pad, you know, and he ends up knocking out Mr. Perfect. Knocking him out cold, WrestleMania 9. Kind of a big deal. You know, Mr. Perfect's pissed. He goes looking for him. He ends up fighting with Shawn Michaels in the back. But a year later, Lex Luger has his championship match with Yokozuna. Special guest referee is Mr. Perfect. And Mr. Perfect ends up screwing over Luger. And it's like, well, maybe that's just payback for what happened last year at WrestleMania. And I got to tell you, as a little kid, I liked Lex Luger and I loved Bret Hart. And as a kid, I was confused by what they were doing. Because I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, right away, the minute that Mr. Perfect was standing in the ring, that we found out he was the referee, because they were treating Mr. Perfect again like a face. They were like, oh, cool, you know, Mr. Perfect is here. That's cool. And, you know, Lex Luger seemed happy about it. You know, everybody was happy about it. And it was like, cool. And now Yokozuna, you know. But he ends up screwing over Luger because of Cornette and Fuji getting in the ring. He pulled them in the ring. And I remember thinking right from the beginning of that match as a kid, I remember thinking, like, dude, why would Luger be okay? Like, Luger, this is, like, he's getting screwed, man, because Mr. Perfect, he hates Mr. Perfect, right? And I don't know, maybe it was just maybe I had a weird memory, but my last memory of Mr. Perfect at the time, I think Mr. Perfect had been away for a little while, and my last memory of Mr. Perfect was with Luger was at that WrestleMania. So I'm like, man, Mr. Perfect's gonna, I guess he's a good guy now, you know? And then he ends up screwing him over. And I think one of the commentators was like, remember WrestleMania 9? Like, they said it real quick, and that was it. You know, but it was like, I don't know, I'm just surprised they didn't build on that. It kind of ruined, right from the beginning, ruined it for me, because it didn't make any sense to me that he'd be the referee and that everybody would be all right with it. You know, I'd be like, no. So you're telling me the Lex Luger's a moron, right? Because they were like, later on, they were like, both the referees were agreed on by all parties, you know. So you're telling me that Lex Luger approved Mr. Perfect to be the referee when a year before at WrestleMania, he knocked him out with a plate arm, with a steel plate in his elbow. He knocked him out with that. And now Lex Luger is in a match that Mr. Perfect is going to be the referee of. And you're telling me that Lex Luger said, okay, make Mr. Perfect the referee. You know what I mean? And I'm a goddamn 10-year-old. I'm a 10-year-old watching this because I've been watching wrestling since I was 5 at WrestleMania 5. And I'm a 10-year-old. By the way, that's longer than Kevin Owens if you're listening, big boy. But anyway, so I'm just a kid. I'm a 10-year-old kid, and I'm thinking, this is stupid. You know, after that, I thought, honestly, like, I know a lot of people said that was the end of Lex Luger, and then he would go on to whatever. But after that, I thought he was a moron. As a 10-year-old, I said, I thought about it. I said it out loud at the show. I was like, what an idiot. Like, why would he... I remember telling my mother doesn't know anything about wrestling at the time, really, and she doesn't care, and whatever. And I'm telling her, but last year, this guy knocked him out, so why would he have agreed to having that guy as the referee? I don't get it. Like, that doesn't make any... Like, would you do that? Where's Jesse Ventura right now? Would you do that? Because if I was in a match and a man knocked me out and a year later was going to be the special referee in my championship match, I'd have smelled something fishy. Because I would have, you know? I don't know. So I always thought that was dumb. So even that, which is not as good, not even close to as good of an example, as a guy like Owens, who was chokeslammed off a cage, beaten the hell up by Braun Strowman, bullied so much that they almost tried to turn Braun into the heel. And now, a week later, it's as if everyone has amnesia in the WWE. Weekly has amnesia. Oh, last week Kevin Owens quit, but he's going to show up this week and whatever. Oh, last week Braun Strowman was trying to kill Kevin Owens, and they had a rivalry, but now Kevin Owens is going to come to the aid of Braun Strowman. I mean, there is, and I hate to say this, but at this point there is only one word for WWE's decision-making, and it's retarded. You are dumb, WWE. You are ridiculous, empty, pathetic, and there is no excuse for this. But I do know one thing. The ratings continue to drop. The fans continue to not show up live. And the people that do shows like this, my show, and other podcasts, will continue to bitch. Because regardless of whether we've become too smart or you've become too stupid, the bottom line is this is piss poor television writing. And if you simply put some kind of effort into it, this wouldn't be happening. Should I really be here sitting here talking about Kevin Owens helping Braun? Did they think the people wouldn't notice on TV? I guarantee you little kids were wondering it. I guarantee you teenagers were wondering it. And I certainly guarantee you anybody over the age of 16 was absolutely wondering it with an IQ over 100. Now, if you just simply kept Kevin Owens in the back, you would have no issue. He has no effect on the situation, on what's going on, and then none of us would be talking about it. If you had had the Shield just show up, it would have been fine. If you had the Shield, you know, with a quick little scene at the jail or whatever about taking the car, getting a ride from a cop, they've already spilled the beans that the Shield was out, you know. And if they wanted to keep that slightly subtle, which I think they did, you know, hey, we're telling you so the story. They thought they were doing the right thing, right? They were like, Michael Cole was like, the Shield has been released. We're hearing the Shield's been released from jail on their own recognizance, so that's good. But what a crazy night. Anyway, we have a main event, you know, kind of like so they're tying the ends together. But why did they show up in a goddamn police vehicle? You wouldn't get a ride, you know? And if you did, show that. Show the cops saying, my kids love you guys. Like, let me give you a ride. You know, that would have been cool, and it would have made sense. And I'm not overthinking it. It was ridiculous when they showed up in that thing. And they pulled into the arena with it, into the... Like, dude, I started laughing so hard. I started laughing so hard at it. It was incredible. Now, you try to make the comparison to Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? McMahon's in the ring talking crap about Austin, all these things. All of a sudden, a beer truck drives through the Titantron with Stone Cold driving it, and he gets out and starts drinking beer and spraying Vince and all these other things. And you say, like, isn't that kind of ridiculous too? And you're like, well, no, because, yeah, Stone Cold could have been out back and, you know, seen the beer guy somewhere and been like, yo, I'm Steve Austin. And the guy's like, oh, man, yeah, I know Steve Austin. You know, what do you want to do? He's like, well, I want to drive the truck out to Monday Night Raw. You know, and the guy's like, okay, Mr. Austin, yeah, I'll do that. He's like, that'd be, you know, I don't anything, man. That's awesome. All right, let's go. You know, that'd be as simple as that, right? Now, they never showed that. So you might say, well, Joe, why are you being hypocritical? Because, you know, why can't the Shield show up in this exciting way, you know? And I think one of the things is they've already done it a bunch of times, and I know Steve Austin did it a whole bunch of times too, and we never saw the backstage, you know, conversation that got him the truck or got him the whatever it is. But it's just different. You know what I mean? Because they're released of their own recognizance, and then they show up in a police car. It doesn't make sense. You know, and I guess I'm trying to compare. I'm trying to be fair here is what I'm trying to do, right? Because a lot of people critique this so much. And I laughed out loud. And I guess the difference is the intensity. I guess that's the difference, right? Because let's pretend Steve Austin broke out of jail, right? Like if it had been the Attitude Era and Steve Austin was arrested, first of all, they would have done it way better, so it doesn't matter anyway. But let's just say they did it the same way. Steve Austin broke out of jail, or no, Steve Austin went to jail, and then they were like, well, we're hearing Steve Austin was released of his own recognizance or whatever. And, oh, okay, well, anyway, back on the show. And then, and he slowly rolls out in the back with a police car and then opens the car up and gets out of it. Like, I feel like, yeah, in the Attitude Era, people would have popped for that. And it would have been pretty cool. But I also feel like in the Attitude Era, Steve Austin, they would have been like, we're hearing Steve Austin broke out of jail and stole a police car. You know what I mean? I feel like that they would have said that. Or they could have said, Steve Austin's been released from jail, we're hearing. And then the car would come flying down the ramp or flying through the Titantron, and the police car would almost smash into the ring, and Steve would get out of it. You know what I mean? That would be so intense, the people would be popping like crazy. But again, it wouldn't make sense. You know, you'd be like, how did he steal it? Why does he steal a cop car? Like, and why does he have a cop car, you know? So I'm really trying to be fair here, and I don't know if I can be. I don't know if I can be fair. You know, because it seems like we would still have the same sort of issue with it, but I guess the difference is the intensity. You know? And maybe that's what WWE doesn't understand, that the intensity is different. The feel is different. Like, if the Shield had just shown up, they would have been fine. You know, it was already a crappy whole segment anyway. But I literally laughed out loud. Like, I began laughing out loud at it. I was laughing in hysterics at the fact that they showed up in a police vehicle. I thought that was the funniest, stupid thing ever. Because it was dumb. Am I being hypocritical? I don't know. But what I did for you just now is I was fair. And I gave you an example of, you know, the Attitude Era. And, you know, how basically, like, well, they could have done the same thing then and the people probably would have exploded. And we wouldn't be sitting here complaining about it. I'm sure some people would say that, like, you know, how did he get a cop car? That made no sense. But I mean, also in the Attitude Era, I feel like you could have done the whole thing with Steve Austin. Like, my kids love Steve Austin, you know. Well, hell yeah, get your damn police car, let's go. You know, that type of thing. That little segment, they did stuff like that all the time in the back. And then the next thing you know, 20 minutes later, a cop car comes blasting out in the, you know, I don't know. So I guess I would critique it the same way then, you know. I don't need to see Steve Austin meeting the beer guy whose truck he's going to drive to the down the ramp, you know. But I felt like last night when the Shield was released on their own recognizance that, you know, we sort of needed to see why they had a police car, because without seeing that, it just appeared ridiculous that they had one. That's my opinion. I've rambled on. We'll see what happens tonight on Raw. I love you guys. I hope you leave a comment down below. Hope you subscribe to the channel. My name is Joe Cronin. I'll be live after Monday Night Raw tonight.